folks? Got blood, violence, freaks of nature? Well, then come on down to Captain Spaulding's Museum of Monsters and Madmen.
So, Mr. Mash, when did you first become familiar with the works of Mr. Robert Zombie?
When I rose from the grave.
So when was that?
The other night.
Oh, so were you a fan of his music or his films first?
I gotta say I was a fan of his music first.
Oh, you're ditching the zombie
Do you
thing
want
now.
me to keep going with the zombie
No,
thing?
let's not. I was aware of Rob Zombie as a rock star around middle school when I started noticing the middle kids, the spooky kids, the freaks is what we called them in our school. When I started noticing them wearing Rob Zombie t-shirts, that was how I became aware of musical acts when I was a teenager. I definitely knew who he was when it was announced that, oh, Rob Zombie's making a horror movie, which to my eyes was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. He's been practicing for that for years.
Yeah. Just wish he would have executed it just a little better.
I've said this before, but I think Rob Zombie has got to be one of the most divisive names in modern horror cinema. It didn't really become intense until the Halloween remake, but all of his movies have had this very divisive love it or hate it reaction.
That's fair.
You suggested this topic, and then later you said to me, I only really like one of his films.
Well, yeah, but I still think we need to talk about him. There for a while, he was trying to reinvent the horror scene in a weird way.
Well, I don't know if he was trying to reinvent it. He was swept up a wave of millennial horror directors. They called them the Splat Pack.
The Splat Pack?
Yeah, it was him and Eli Roth, James Wan, Greg McLean.
Yeah, but you know the thing with Eli Roth is his movies aren't scary. They're asshole clenchers. And the whole time you're just like, oh god!
Eli Roth is definitely one of those directors who have made two movies now I like, because I kind of liked Knock Knock. Didn't care for the Hostel films, didn't care for Green Inferno.
Now, see, I did like Green Inferno.
I know you liked Green Inferno.
Well, anyhow, he's not who we're talking about today.
You said this is one we should get to, but there's probably about 20 other horror directors I could name first that are more influential and important to the genre.
Let's just talk about Rob Zombie.
Robert Straker, better known today even to his mom as Rob Zombie, started out as an aspiring film student but clearly took a wrong turn somewhere. Today he's the king of horror rock and the owner of one of the biggest metal beats in the business.
We'll just start by mentioning some of his music videos, because the aesthetic he would use for his films began in the music videos.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that he started with White Zombie. I gotta tell you, Rob Zombie solo stuff and
is way better.
But it sounds pretty similar to his stuff with White Zombie. I'm sure people more familiar with the output of that band can point me towards some examples, and their bassist was hot.
Yeah, she was.
We were watching some of the earlier videos like Thunder Kiss 65,
Oh,
Sunshine.
is this about his fucking dancing?
You kept commenting on that dancing.
Like, what's with the dancing? He dances like a chick in all of his early videos.
And every time you would say that, my reaction was,
It's the 90s, but you know what? When him and Sherry Moon Zombie could have a slutty zombie dance contest. Thank God for his solo stuff, because, man, he really let that go.
And watching some of those early music videos, you can see his aesthetic evolving. Some of those early videos are the band performing in a basement of a spooky house, and Iggy Pop's there. You get to
and what's with the Rasta hats? Steampunk. What's
yeah,
with the
he had the
Rasta
steampunk
hats?
goggles, yeah. Man, I don't know, man. It was the 90s.
I don't
All
know
can
if I want to
say.
be a Rastafarian or a steampunk guy, or if I just like big hats.
I think it was the hats. He really likes big hats.
Now he likes cowboy hats, and he looks way better in a cowboy hat than he does in a Rastafarian ball cap thing.
Then you get to a video like Electric Head Part 2, which is a really cool freak show theme.
Yeah.
By the time you get to the I'm Your Boogeyman video, I feel like the Rob Zombie aesthetic is well established. That's one of my favorites of his. The horror host framing device with Dr. Spooky.
Yeah.
And then I'm not sure if that's the first time Sherry Moon shows up. She's dedefinitely in that one. She
she might have been in Thunder Kiss.
She might be one of the dancers in one of the early ones. I'm not sure, but she's definitely in the Boogeyman music video as Vampira. You have this goofy black and white footage, and then you cut to Zombie in the band hanging out with zombies and rats on his head in some sort of demon rave room.
Yeah, and he's like, guys, get these rats off my head.
There is a moment in that video where you can see that he is very uncomfortable with the rats on his head. What is your favorite Rob Zombie video?
I think Dracula's the better song. I think Living Dead Girl might be the better video.
I mean, that one's cool because it has this Dr. Caligari theme, and you have Sherry Moon as the somnambulist and Rob Zombie with the hat.
Dracula, the song itself, has this cool beat to it that you can headbang to, but you could also rave to at the same time.
Yeah, it has this electric heavy metal theme. And
probably one of the catchiest hooks in all of song history.
I don't know about that, but definitely
said one of.
Great one. Obviously, Rob Zombie likes horror movies. He has built the majority of his musical career around references to things of that nature.
And dressing like a zombie.
Yeah, well, that too. Anybody who's a fan of the genre can watch his music videos and say, oh, that's from that. The title of Dracula is a Munsters reference. The dancing robot in the video is from the Bela Lugosi serial, The Phantom Creeps. And then there's a song like Superbeasto where the video's alright, but the title is taken from this obscure, very odd film called Attack of the Superbeast. And I was just telling JD about it, where the monsters are pseudomation, but the human characters are animation. And then the title for Living Dead Girl is from a Jean Rollins film, something like Never Gonna Stop. The song is inspired by A Clockwork Orange. The video is inspired by A Clockwork Orange. Bowler hats and the cod pieces and the eyelashes. They're hanging out in the milk bar. I'm not sure when some of these videos were done, if this was happening around the same time as he was making some of the movies. But it is interesting to see there's Ed Haig as a pirate in the Feel So Numb video.
Bill Moseley's in that video,
yeah,
too.
He's the mad scientist with the animal people. Even before he was directing films, he still had this troupe of actors that he continues to put in everything. Obviously, Sherry Moon is the main one. She's his wife.
He's like, guys, I like getting laid, so I'm putting Sherry Moon in the movie. Well, they got married in 2002.
And they've been dating for 9 years before that, according to Wikipedia.
Yeah, 23 years they've been together?
23 years, wow. That's a record in rock music. We were watching the videos, I said, what's Rob Zombie's real name? It doesn't say Robert Zombie on his birth certificate.
It doesn't?
Rob Zombie's cool. Bob Zombie sounds like a fucking dork. Nobody's gonna go see a band called Bob
Boink.
Zombie. His real name is Robert Cummings. Right decision changing that there.
On a stormy Halloween night, 4 young people set out across the back roads of America in search of a mysterious figure known only as
Dr. Satan.
What they uncovered is the most horrifying and shocking tale of carnage ever seen. From director Rob Zombie comes a journey into hell, House of 1,000 Corpses.
So like I said, it was only a matter of time before Rob Zombie, rock star, became Rob Zombie, movie director. That happened because he was designing some Halloween mazes for Universal Studios for their Halloween Horror Nights event. And somebody said, hey, these ideas are really, really cool. Are you interested in making a film with us? And he said, sure. Put this movie together, House of 1,000 Corpses. It was around 2000 when the film was completed, and Universal Studio looked at it and said, we cannot release this movie. This is too fucked up. We can't put this out in malls all over America. For a long time, it was one of those things where film fans were like, we don't know if this is ever going to come out. It was this mysterious project for a while. Finally, in 2003, it was picked up by Lionsgate, and this was apparently one of the very first horror films Lionsgate released, which is interesting to think about because they went on to become low-budget horror studio of the 2000s. I guess Blumhouse has taken over that now. If House of 1,000 Corpses had came out in the year 2000, when it was originally supposed to be released, for context, that was the same year Scream 3 and Blair Witch Project came out. And this is a very different type of horror film from those. By the time it came out in 2003, it really fit in with what was happening in the post-millennial horror world at the time. This wave of transgressive hardcore horror. I remember that Fangoria cover, House of 1,000 Corpses, the return of hardcore horror.
This movie has the problem of being almost too intense with the violence and all that it takes away from the creepy elements. For instance, at the end of the movie, in Dr. Satan's laboratory,
right,
that should be a really creepy-ass fucking scene. It becomes so in your face. Man, I just want this movie to be over.
I feel like that could kind of describe all of his films. They're all trying very hard to be in your face. His style was very abrasive. The House of 1,000 Corpses, I didn't really like it the first time I saw it. I've seen it many times over the years, and it has actually grown on me to the point where I do enjoy it. It took about 3 or 4 viewings before I got to that point.
But the characters are just...
The Firefly family are interesting. They're cool characters. The humans, the victims in this film, nobody gives a shit about them. And that's a big problem with the movie.
My problem with the Fireflies in this movie. They are the most interesting characters in the movie. But Bill Moseley is doing Chop Top. Karen Black is doing every crazy Karen Black character ever.
Bill Moseley, he's not quite...
Oh, he's doing Chop Top.
Otis is a lot more sadistic.
He is so doing Chop Top that he could be Chop Top's great-grandson.
He's a less goofy character.
But he's doing the voice.
Different voice.
Oh, no, it's not.
It's a different voice.
No, it's not, because as soon as I heard it, I was like, that's fucking Chop Top. You just want to disagree with me because you want to disagree with me. You fuck goes in retrospect?
We'll just have to disagree on that one, buddy.
Okay, but can we at least agree that Karen Black is doing every crazy character she's ever done?
How many Karen Black movies have you seen?
Well, there's that Children of the Corn movie.
She's in one of those?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. For
You know, the
years...
Tiki movie.
Yeah, Trilogy Terror. For years, you had no idea who Karen Black was. I'd mention her name, and you looked at me like, who?
Yeah. And then, House of a Thousand Corpses.
Okay, so you've seen three movies.
Yeah, and in all three movies, they're all the same character.
You said this is an abrasive movie, and that's a very fair criticism. I would also say that it is totally upfront about that. From the very first scene, you know exactly what you're getting.
I would like to point out there are things that work in the film. Like, I'm not trying to say I totally hate the film.
The film begins with staticky television broadcast, which is very loud and abrasive, and then it goes into Sid Haig as Captain Spaulding and his friend talking about, their words not mine, this local retard who shoved a Dr. Zaius doll up his ass. Within the first 10 minutes, you have people talking about penises and people getting their heads blown off, and probably more F-bombs than most movies have over their entire runtime. So very, very quickly, we know exactly what we're in for. I completely understand that some people do not like that, and I gotta say, I don't enjoy it in all of his films. I call it a white trash aesthetic, and Zombie is obsessed with it. He has to put in as much, not merely profane dialogue, but vulgar dialogue.
Probably my favorite performance in this movie is Sherry Moon's.
A lot of people find her annoying in this. A lot of people find her annoying in general.
Yeah, she's annoying, but that's kind of the point of her character, and she takes it to the natural conclusion.
My favorite character in this film is Sid Haig as Captain Spaulding.
He doesn't do much in this movie.
He doesn't have a lot of scenes, but I think he makes the most of his screen time. Just him hamming it up, I love. Sid Haig had kind of retired when he had done this film, and this movie totally relaunched his career. He's never suffered for work since this film came out.
I didn't even know that he was an actor before this.
He's on fucking Batman, bro. He was King Tut's royal scribe back in the 60s. He was in Spider Baby. He was in Coffee and Foxy Brown.
Damn! Sorry, that was my mind blowing.
I love the whole sequence where they're going through the murder museum. He's hamming it up
well,
like
that scene in general is just cool.
Yeah, how Albert Fish liked to have nails hammered into his crotch and all that fucked up shit.
Is Hammer Fish a real guy or whatever?
Albert Fish was absolutely a real person. He was a real child murderer and cannibal.
They should make a movie about him.
They have made several.
Well, they should make another one so I can watch it.
Something that Rob Zombie has done in all his films is cast cult actors that maybe you haven't seen in a while. I'm sure Bill Moseley was busy. I'm sure Bill Moseley had been in other things.
Yeah, Bill Moseley hasn't stopped working since Chainsaw 2.
Yeah, I'm absolutely sure he had done other things, but Texas Chainsaw 2 was the only thing people really knew him from. He has this manic energy, and if you meet him, we've met Bill at a horror convention at several.
Awesome.
Yeah, he has that energy in real life.
And we happened to get to him on a day that he wasn't particularly popular.
Talked to us for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, but though, we will live with that memory forever.
I really enjoy him in this film. I enjoy all the Firefly actors. Now, what do we think of the protagonists, though, the heroes in this movie?
They're shitty people, and you always root for them to die.
I absolutely agree with you. The victims in this film are...
And whoa, fat Chris Hardwick.
Yeah, this was back during Chris Hardwick's pudgy... He's talked about how he was an active alcoholic during these days. And this was long before he had reinvented himself as this podcast superstar and self-proclaimed spokesman for the nerd community. His character's super annoying in this. If you just find Chris
Hardwick is super
if you just
annoying.
find Chris Hardwick annoying in general. Hey, Rainn Wilson is in this too, and he would go on to bigger and better things.
His is the best character of the protagonist, and he dies right off.
And even his character is smug and obnoxious.
Yeah.
Walter Goggins is in this, and now he's a bigger deal. He's one of the deputies. The two female leads, I don't even remember the character names. There's nothing to those characters. They're complete blanks.
Yeah.
And that is a huge problem the film has.
You know what Devil's Rejects 3 needs to be?
Oh, yeah, what's that?
They need to have just been in hiding. Everybody thought they were dead. And then they kidnap Justin Bieber, and Baby makes him sing, Baby, Baby, Baby.
What do you think of the general aesthetic of this film?
Dark and gritty and cringy and...
Well, I'm just referring to the weird way the film will cut away to stuff that has nothing to do with what's happening at the moment.
The little home movies of Baby and Otis. And...
Right. Yeah. Stuff I really like is completely insane, unrelated things. We cut to this weird nightmare sequence where it's in reverse coloration. This hillbilly talking about how the skunk ape would molest his wife. Or we cut to this preacher has a shotgun and is ranting and raving. The first time I saw the film, my reaction was, what the fuck am I watching? But I gotta say, like I said, over the years, I've kind of grown to like that stuff.
I think you just have a slight case of Stockholm.
That is totally possible. There are scenes in this movie that are obnoxious. When they go to the Red Hot Pussy Liquor store, Baby is making fun of Goober.
I really like the store name. That made me laugh.
Like a liquor store that's also a porn shop.
It's a pun, dude.
It is? Red Hot Pussy Liquor?
Yeah, Red Hot Pussy Liquor.
Lick her up. Took me a decade to get that.
You really did not get that?
No, I really didn't. Also, have we talked about Cherry Moon's ass yet?
No, we have not talked
Rob
about
Zombie is obsessed with his wife's ass. He puts it in every movie.
Rightly so.
I mean, it's a very nice ass. There's a scene where they first take Rainn Wilson back to the house before they're becoming overtly antagonistic, and she's wearing little kid's pajamas, bends over to hand him a cup of hot chocolate, her ass falls out of her shorts, and then later when they're going to the liquor store, she's wearing jeans that have holes in the bottom. Rob's obsession with it is sometimes a little distracting.
Whatever, she lets him videotape it.
The Fireflies are obviously these sadistic psychopaths that torture people and murder people. The cheerleaders have been sexually assaulted. I don't know if they're likable, but their world is so defined. Gotta tell you, the set design in this movie is fucking awesome. They live in a Halloween attraction.
Yeah.
I really love the sequence at Slim Whitman's I Will Remember You, where they're killing the cops. That's actually a really cool scene.
Like, I understand what he was going for with that slow pan out.
Oh yeah, but it lasts for like a solid minute.
Trying to go for dramatic effect, but at the same time, you're like, oh my god, if you're not going to shoot the fucking cop, can you hand me the gun so I can do it?
Zombies got an aesthetic, man. What do we think of that ending? This movie worked for me up till about the last half an hour, and the film's interior logic, which is already shaky, completely crumbles. When they lower the kids in a coffin into this watery pit outside of the house, and they're playing satanic chanting backwards, zombies come up out of the lake and grab the people, and there's an underground tunnel, and everybody's dressed as bunnies. At that point, the movie completely stops making sense. And this is a problem Zombies had in his other films.
Yeah. Weird.
I remember those zombies, they're on the poster, and I almost feel like he said, this is a Rob Zombie movie, I've got to put zombies in it, because they don't do anything, they're just in there.
And then there's the weird psychopaths just wandering the hallways down there.
Yeah, like the presumption is that these are previous victims, or attempted victims of the Fireflies. I haven't mentioned the actual plot of this movie, what brings these teenagers to this home of lunacy.
They're trying to write a book one.
They're trying to find Dr. Satan, and they find him at the end. What do we think of that reveal? Dr. Satan's laboratory with these mongoloids around the TV.
It's all stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Dr. Satan is a Firefly.
They have never explained how Dr. Satan fits
I think
into...
great-grandpa Firefly, Daddy Firefly, who is also this weird zombie thing with a gas mask.
That's Tiny's dad. We haven't mentioned Tiny. Oh, Tiny's one of my favorite characters in the film. Played by the late, great Matthew McGorry, the 7-foot-tall burned dude. Tiny has always struck me as the most gentle of the Fireflies, in the sense that he doesn't seem to actively want to hurt anybody.
Dragging a naked dead girl in the beginning.
Yeah. I don't know. I like Tiny. The film totally goes off the rails at the end there. It's an interesting film.
It's awful.
You don't like it at all?
I will never have to watch it again.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas, everyone! It's that time of year again when you, my friends, get to shell out all your hard-earned cash buying presents for people you don't even like. Why not buy them Murder Rag gift certificates? They last all year long. By the way, when you're down there, make sure that you pick up your Captain Spaulding for President t-shirts. Merry Christmas, ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas, ha, ha, ha. Merry Christmas, spend more money. Merry Christmas, right this way, ha, ha.
So Lionsgate made their entire investment back on this film after it was out for one weekend, and they called up Rob and said, what about a sequel? And that's how we got The Devil's Rejects from 2000. A very, very different movie. The style for this film is completely different.
He grew up in the span of 2 years.
Well, I don't know if he grew up because he would immediately go back to doing a lot of the same shit he did in that first film. Devil's Rejects, this is going to sound weird to say, but it is a more sophisticated film. It's a more mature film, and it's certainly more grounded. House of Thousand Corpses was this weird, phantasmagoric grindhouse experience. This movie is a little more realistic.
It's like Evil Dirty Harry.
Zombie has talked about how the film was very much influenced by Sam Peckinpah and Terrence Malick's Badlands, just 70s crime films and chase films. It very much has that look to it. House of Thousand Corpses was a day glow visual outlook. This film is desert. I really, really like this movie a lot, and I know you really, really like this movie a lot.
Oh, yeah.
This film was the whole reason you wanted to do this episode.
It is.
What do you like so much about Devil's Rejects?
There's no fucking ice cream in your fucking future. But seriously, the characters are more grounded, reeled in a little bit.
Yeah.
It allows you to really explore the depth of their characters.
Criticism I had for his previous film, and a lot of other people had, was that the victims nobody gave a shit about. Rob took that to heart, and he said, alright, well, these are the most interesting characters in the movie. I'll just make the next movie about them. Fireflies are the protagonists of this film. They're on the run from sadistic cop who wants revenge. They get into some shenanigans.
And Otis looks way better. I like Wizard Otis. I don't like redneck long chops Otis.
In the first movie, he was supposed to be an albino. Drop that because this is a more realistic film. And in this one, he has the Charles Manson beard. Rob Zombie Zombie's obsessed with Charles Manson.
I'm going back to calling it Wizard Otis.
He even quotes one of the Manson killers when he says, "I'm the devil and I'm here to do the devil's work."
The difference between this movie and the last one, part of what you said, where he realizes that these were the most interesting characters in the movie, you get a look on the inside of their family, why their family is so tight.
That's the thing with this film. The moment I always think of that is honestly weirdly sort of powerful. It's at the end. It's after Sheriff Wydell has captured them and he's torturing them. He's going to torture Baby, Captain Spaulding. Her father pops up and says, no, do me instead. You don't want to torture her, you want to torture me. Because that's his daughter.
They're a family.
They are the most sadistic, twisted killers in the world, but they do love each other. You learn so much about the Fireflies. You find out what kind of music they like, what sort of movies they like. They have interests and opinions and personality, and that's really, really fascinating.
And I forget her name, but the lady who plays Mama Firefly in this.
Yeah, Leslie Easterbrook took over for Karen Black, probably best known for being the blonde in Police Academy.
She's a much better Mother Firefly.
You know, not the first person to say that to me. I actually think Leslie Easterbrook is a little over the top. The whole movie's over the top, but I find her acting just a little too abrasive. I do prefer Karen Black.
But what I like about her is you see that she's unhinged.
When this movie came out, I remember the website had character history. You could bring up the police files. That's another thing I like about this movie. They throw around little references to the character's past that are never explained. A couple of times they call Captain Spaulding Cutter. And if you looked up the backstories, you learn that that was his first criminal alias. But I like that Zombie does that. He gives us this sense of history and backstory that these characters have.
Baby, she is a far better character in this movie than she was in the last one.
She strikes me as the most unchanged of all the characters in between the sequel.
I think you needed that to round it as a sequel.
And another great thing about this one is Sid Haig is given a much bigger role.
He's in some of the best moments in the movie.
I need to take this car for serious clown business.
It's official clown business.
Official clown business.
And like
the kid's still in the car. I know.
The kid's still in the car. And he's
you
like,
don't like clowns?
What's the matter? You don't like clowns?
Don't you think they're fucking funny?
Don't you think we're funny?
If you don't learn to appreciate clowns, I'm going to come back here and I'm going to
kill your whole goddamn family.
And you just think that kid is ruined for life. And you can tell that Captain Spaulding is just fucking with this kid. I mean, I don't pretend to know what these characters would do.
I kind of feel like he is just fucking with the
because it amuses him.
The vibe you get from Captain Spaulding is that he will kill if he has to. I don't think he actually likes to kill. I think he's more of liking to fuck with people.
Yeah, he is less overtly sadistic than his compatriots.
Otis is probably my favorite character in this movie.
Bill Moseley gives a career best performance in this.
How could you not love him?
He's a rapist and a serial killer and a
I can get over
necrophile.
that.
He molests that poor woman in the hotel.
I can get over that.
The skinning people and wearing their faces doesn't bother you.
No. But seriously, if you took away all of that stuff, literally be like a family of John McClane just trying to survive till the end.
If you took away the murder and the rape and the necrophilia and the overt Satanism and sadism, yeah, they would probably just be a bunch of good old boys.
But it would still be a good movie.
I would totally watch a version of this film without all the murder. I love to hang out with these characters. The scene we were talking about earlier, the ice cream moment, completely superfluous to the plot.
Tutti fucking fruity.
Serves no purpose in the film.
Other than to establish the relationships.
Right, it's just about the characters and the bond they have. That cold cut from there's no fucking ice cream in your fucking future to them eating the ice cream. Baby even rubs a little ice cream on Otis's nose.
Tutti fucking fruity.
And we have to talk about the profanity. Up until they made the documentary Fuck, which is literally about the history of the word fuck, this film held the record for the most uses of the word fuck in any motion picture.
Really? We'll have to count one time.
And I know the Rob Zombie dialogue bugs some people. It bugs me too in Halloween and Halloween 2. But in this one, it totally works, even when you have Mama Firefly saying, I'm just thinking back to when you were a fucking baby. That's just how they talk.
I really like Mama Firefly. When they've called her and they have her and they're interrogating. You see, you say she's over the top, but I think what she's actually doing is a reverse sermon. If you look at it that way, you picture a southern preacher in a movie, how he's doing that real enthusiastic, God is coming to
the fire
save
and the brimstone.
you.
Yeah.
That's what she's doing. But instead of saying God's coming to save you, she's my fucking family's going to rip your guts out, motherfucker.
Talking about that ice cream scene, and there are other moments in this movie that are complete digressions. It works here. In any other film, it would be distracting.
Like the chicken fucker scene?
The chicken fucker scene. So Ken Foray and Michael Berryman go to buy some fried chicken. We don't need to know that they're eating a Rhode Island Red, and we certainly don't need the guy to go on about how, well, if you stick that chicken on your dick and cut the head off, are you suggesting I would fuck a chicken? And then Michael Berryman, who's playing a character that appears to be mentally regressed.
He said, I fuck a chicken. I wouldn't fuck no chicken.
Yeah, how upset he is that he'd ever be accused of fucking a chicken.
It's just like, really?
Maybe my favorite scene in the movie is when they bring in the movie critic to talk about Groucho Marx. That fucker Elvis died 2 days before Groucho and stole all the press. Sheriff Wydell, you will not besmirch the name of Elvis Aaron Presley. It's very, very rare in a movie where you find out what a character's favorite film is. That detail, I love that so much that we really get a glimpse into the character's likes and dislikes. But the sadistic violence. How do you justify the torture porn when they've got Banjo and Sullivan in the hotel room and he's forcing forcing the woman to strip and he's shoving his gun in her panties. It's super fucked up. That part of the film kind of drags from it.
Yeah, but really, it's just that one scene that goes too far.
I wouldn't say it goes too far. It's not a necessary stepping stone on the plot. It's about the Fireflies on the run and their conflict with Wydell. Rob just can't help himself. He's got to include the most fucked up shit he can pick up. And maybe that's just the nature of the Fireflies. They got to be free birds. They got to torture and kill people.
Oh my god, it's almost like that's what that song was all about. That might actually be my favorite scene in the movie.
It is one of my favorite endings in cinema history.
It's so perfect.
Not many other films could get away with playing Freebird in its entirety. I want to talk about the character of Sheriff Wydell. William Forsythe is terrifying in that part, and you can see him going over the edge.
That's something this movie does really well, is it
fucks with your moral certainty.
Yeah. These Fireflies, quite frankly, they deserve to die.
Like, they are the most sadistic, twisted characters ever.
But then you're watching the sheriff hunt them down like they're dogs. He doesn't even read them their Miranda rights.
They get a taste of their own medicine. And suddenly, well, I don't know who to root for anymore.
I root for the Fireflies. Come on, baby, just rip that shit off and punch him in the
butt. When he's chasing Baby through the cow pen, now she's the victim. This cop, the monster, he kills Ken Foray for no reason. This movie actually has some really interesting thoughts on its mind about the effect of violence. All violence is equally bad and it corrupts everybody. And who knows, maybe Bob was just following his muse.
Anyhow, that ending. Probably one of the most powerful endings in cinema.
And it shouldn't work. 90 minutes of these characters being
badasses,
being sadistic murderers as they're riding to their certain doom, and the overly sincere strings of Freebird are playing, and they're flashing back to them frolicking in a field together. And it should be completely ridiculous, right? But it works somehow. It's actually weirdly powerful.
What throws me off with this scene, though, and I love this scene, it's my favorite scene in the movie, and I'm with you, it's probably one of my favorite movie endings of all time.
Yeah.
But I think Rob Zombie wrote it to be funny.
There might be some humor there, because the real version of the Fireflies frolicking would be them torturing a teenager together. I don't think the use of Freebird was anything but sincere.
Freebird was sincere,
yeah.
But I think the flashbacks, he was trying to be funny.
Zombie would do the same thing in his Halloween remakes. He just tends to relate to the monster. In a weird way at the end there, especially with the use of Freebird, these sadistic serial killers become almost counterculture icons. They are rebelling against society, and they do their own thing, even though the rest of the world does not approve. And that own thing just happens to be torturing and kidnapping and murdering and raping people. And once again, we got to talk about the cast of cult character actors in this movie. Ken Foray, Michael Berryman, Mary Warnoff, Danny Trejo, and Diamond Dallas Page is the Unholy Two, a reference to the Lon Chaney movie, The Unholy Three. And Danny Trejo's character is named Rondo after Rondo Huitan, a minor Universal monster actor from the 40s who had acromegaly.
Diamond Dallas Page looks like Diamond Dallas Page with brown hair.
Has his face always been that fucked up?
I think so.
After you take a couple folding chairs to the forehead, you start to look that way.
I feel like they added the scar, but I think the rest of it was all his face.
The greasy aesthetic in this movie, I don't know how many of our listeners have survived through a summer in the South, but it's accurate, okay?
There is one complaint that I have about this movie.
What's that?
Is that it doesn't portray the setting very well.
This feels way more like 1977 than
the first one.
Yeah.
It does. This time, girls were still wearing the flare jeans and a
little bit of that.
The girls of our time were wearing the flare jeans.
In 2005.
Right. Terry Moon's wearing the bell-bottoms. And
I didn't live through 1977, but I know people who have. I have it from then that this is a pretty accurate depiction.
If it wasn't for the vehicles, you would not know this movie was set in 1977.
The music would clue you in.
Man, I listen to that music today.
Well, yeah, we do. And also,
it speaks to your soul.
And speaking of Tiny, his sacrifice at the end there.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to talk about that. And then it comes up and says, in memory of Michael McGorry.
Yeah, who passed away not long after the film came out. Like Rondo Huitan, he also had acromegaly. I understand why anybody turns their nose up at a Rob Zombie film. His movies are not for everybody. I don't even like all his films. I feel like
this film is for everybody, though.
No, it's not. I've had some people say that the torture and the violence is just unpleasant for them.
Although I will say that I don't appreciate the one scene where you see Sid Haig's balls. that image has been burned into my brain.
Yeah, when I was watching this most recently, I noticed that too, and it's, man, was that necessary?
Is that really his balls, or did they do the thing where they gave him a fake pair of balls?
Like they
did in Django?
I'm too scared to look. I don't want to Google Sid Haig's balls.
No.
But there's that great cut where he gets up out of bed, and he goes to the bathroom, and then we cut to the coffee being poured. So there are a lot of little things I like about this film. It is head and shoulders Zombie's best film. I would put this above everything else he's done, and I do kind of like some of his other movies.
This film is a brilliant achievement in motion picture history. Finally, the truth about Hitler's diabolical plans to create a race of superwomen can be told. Werewolf Women of the SS. And Nicolas Cage as Fu Manchu.
This is my mission!
So his next project, he would contribute a fake trailer for Grindhouse. Now, did you get to see Grindhouse in the theater in 2007? No. It was fucking magical. Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, their goal with that was to recreate going to an old movie theater in the 70s and 80s and seeing a double feature. It really worked for me. That entire experience of the two films and the fake trailers in between, the advertisements and old movie banners and stuff like that, all of that was amazing. A big attraction with Grindhouse was not just the new Tarantino movie and a new Robert Rodriguez movie, but the fake trailers in the center, which for a long time you couldn't get a copy of until they released the movie on Blu-ray. There was no way to see the whole original Grindhouse again. There's 3 trailers. Eli Roth's Thanksgiving is amazing. It's the best thing Eli Roth's ever done. And I really liked Edgar Wright's Don't
Go into the woods alone.
Don't open the window. Don't open the door. Don't go in the basement.
Do go see this movie.
And then Rob Zombie contributed the Werewolf Women of the SS, which is a parody, I would say, of movies like Elsa, She-Wolf of the SS, this Nazi-exploitation subgenre. And I would say it's my least favorite of the 3 trailers, but it's still pretty amusing. It's worth it for, and featuring Nicolas Cage as Fu Manchu.
Yeah, that's what makes the trailer good.
That and Sherry Moon in the Nazi fetish gear.
Yeah, you have to take the swastika off.
You wouldn't do it if she had the swastika on?
No.
Man, I appreciate that. That's real nice to hear. You're not a Nazi. Can't be too short these days. And the trailer's got Udo Kier in there. Always nice to see.
Udo?
Always nice to see Udo and something.
Everybody loves Udo.
It's Udo.
Inside every one of us, there exists a dark side. Most people rise above it, but some are consumed by it until there is nothing left but pure evil.
These are the eyes of a psychopath.
We have talked about Rob Zombie's Halloween movies when we did our Halloween episode a long time ago now. You're going to talk about his career, you have to mention them. And they are really divisive movies. A lot of people really, really hate them, and they hate Rob Zombie for making them. I've said my piece on it. I sort of like that first one. I think there are elements of that first movie that are sort of interesting. I find the white trash aesthetic mostly misplaced. It's not bad, but the second one is just...
It doesn't even make sense.
It's a very, very strange movie. I think it's got to be one of the strangest sequels in a franchise that we've gotten in quite some time.
He would be better suited for Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That's not the first time that thought has been expressed. I agree. Halloween was just the wrong series for him. I don't know who should have made a Halloween movie.
The guy who made It Follows should make a Halloween remake.
Well, now we've got David Gordon Green of Pineapple Express fame doing a Halloween movie, though I'm intrigued to see what he'll cook up. He's known for the stoner comedies, but he's also done some interesting dramas, too. And supposedly he's a big fan. I'm hoping we'll get some more news about that.
So was Rob Zombie.
Yeah, well, that's true.
In the face of evil, you need a team that can fight ugly. To save the world, they'll resort to gratuitous violence, all kinds of kinky sexual content, plus a blatant disregard for every decent and indecent living creature. El Superbeasto. When evil rises up, he stands erect.
Around the time Devil's Rejects came out, it was announced that Rob Zombie was going to be involved in a cartoon. They were going to be making a animated adaptation of a comic book he made called The Haunted World of El Superbeasto. They announced it, and then it wasn't completed for a long time, because animation's a very lengthy process. I mean, it didn't come out until 2009, and it would end up going direct-to-video. All of Zombie's films have their defenders, except for this one. I rewatched this last night. I gotta tell you, when it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're super tired, this movie does not go down smooth. You've seen El Superbeasto. It's been a while, but what do you recall?
I remembered it being boring.
It is an incredibly obnoxious film, even by the standards of Rob Zombie's other movies. It runs 77 minutes, but it feels much, much longer.
It felt like a 2-hour-long movie when I watched it.
Yeah.
It's like the Manos Hands of Fate, but in cartoon form.
I think I'd rather watch Manos than this.
You sad, sad little man.
None of the jokes in this movie are funny. All the characters are super annoying. There's these reoccurring musical numbers that just make you want to hammer a fucking nail through your head. I gotta tell you, I think the main reason this movie was made was all the animated nudity. There's an excessive amount of animated breasts in this film. And, you know, I like animation. As a heterosexual male, enjoy looking at female breasts. And I have even been known to, from time to time, look at animated breasts. But I just think this movie goes a little too far with it. When the entire reason you made something was for the cartoon boobies, maybe you shouldn't have made that thing. Another thing about this movie that annoyed me is every 50 seconds there's a reference to some other film. There are jokes about Frankenstein and The Shining and Dr. Five, Faster Pussycat Kill 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 and Carrie in this. Zombie references his own movies, and the villain is Dr. Satan. It's not Dr. Satan from Devil's Rejects, but that's the character's name. Captain Spaulding and Otis and the Werewolf Women are all in this, and so is Michael Myers. He is hit by a car, and then he talks with Paul Lynn's voice and says something stupid. Maybe would give some credence to those fans who believed that Zombie didn't have the proper respect for that character. Sherry Moon's in this too. She's the voice of Susie X, Superbeasto sidekick and all that. I did not enjoy this movie at all. I really found it incredibly obnoxious.
Yeah, let's move on.
Are you the new tenant? Oh, I hate to break it to you, but there is no person in number 5.
You have to understand that there is a war waging in heaven.
To curse the Lords of Salem, possessing the souls of the Salem women, which the devil's child would inherit the earth.
Satan, come to us!
2012, we got a new Rob Zombie movie, The Lords of Salem. Now, I understand you saw this film for the first time recently, and you were no fan of it.
Kind of meh.
There are elements of this movie that I sort of like.
I really like the demon thing.
Oh, what, Harlequin fetus baby devil thing? There are a couple of demons in this movie.
Thing that looked like a big hairy, looked like a taller version of the troll.
Oh, you mean the Sasquatch thing that shows
up?
Oh, yeah, okay.
I thought that was really effective, and the first time I saw the movie, it scared the shit out of me.
You can see Zombie may be trying to do something a little different. The tone is initially not quite as obnoxious as in your face as some of his other films. This movie was very much inspired by Roman Polanski's Apartment trilogy. You can see threads of Rosemary's Baby and Repulsion in this movie. And there are long scenes that are sort of subtly creepy, scenes of Sherry Moon in her apartment and their creepy music, and nothing overtly weird is happening yet. And those...
But, like, the biggest problem in this movie is Sherry Moon's performance.
See, I think it's okay. A lot of people hated her in this movie.
She's trying to play the whole movie as she's just walking through a dream. She's trying to play that she's being entranced, but it just comes off as, man, I just took a bunch of lewds.
It is in the character's history that she's a recovering drug addict. They bring that up a few times.
Yeah, but she wasn't doing lewds.
I actually sort of like Sherry Moon's performance in this film.
And then the dreadlocks. What is with the dreadlocks?
Okay, yeah.
Come on,
the
Zombie.
dreadlocks are bad, yeah.
Rob Zombie had dreadlocks, and he kind of pulled it off.
Because he's a rock star.
Sherry Moon, come on. Because your husband has dreads doesn't mean you need to. There was a reference to one of his movies in this movie.
I'm sure there is.
The face makeup that she has on in the one scene, actually it's on the poster.
Yeah, it's very similar to the makeup that Otis wears in House of 1,000 Corpses, isn't it? Very much inspired by the Misfits skull paint, the Crimson Ghost thing.
Wasn't that what Rob Zombie, like, his whole shtick on anyway, was that?
In between the Misfits and Alice Cooper, Rob Zombie owes his whole career to them.
Maybe a little bit of Ozzy sprinkled in on top.
Yeah, when the movie is just trying to create the uneasy, creepy atmosphere, I actually find that stuff pretty effective. And that scene you mentioned with the Sasquatch, where she's having this nightmare where she walks into a room that just has a neon cross on the wall, and suddenly there's this giant Bigfoot in the scene.
You know, what's up with that? There's more crosses in this than there is in all of Evangelion. Like, what?
Whoa, no, I would not say that.
It was a joke, man. Let's not overanalyze, okay? Damn.
Well, man, it's a devil worship movie.
Couldn't you make them explode and, like, really go for it?
I feel like Rob Zombie really captured the atmosphere inside a morning zoo DJ crew. Really like the scenes of Sherry Moon and the other guy and Ken Foray talking, playing sound effects, because that's what they fucking do on those morning shows. I like the scenes of her just hanging out in her apartment with her dog. Setting a movie in Salem, Massachusetts instead of bumfuck nowhere, southern Georgia, Alabama, Texas, like that change of pace. There are other moments in the film.
Like Naked Meg Foster?
Zombie's gotta do what he do. He's gotta have these weird, sexually transgressive moments in the movie, like Naked Meg Foster appearing suddenly, like Harlequin Baby Satan, like the zombie doctor priest, or the scene where she goes into the church and she has that nightmare about the priest raping her. What the fuck is up with that stuff?
That last scene.
The last 20 minutes of this movie. House of 1,000 Corpses had the same problem. Rob Zombie, he stuck the ending fantastically in Devil's Rejects, but every other one of his movies have a shitty ending. The last 20 minutes of that movie, it's just, let's throw weird shit at the screen. Masturbating mummy popes.
But the last 20 minutes of Halloween weren't that bad.
Halloween 2 had that problem.
Well, Halloween 2 had that problem, but Halloween 2 was all one big problem.
Let's have a shot of Sherry Moon riding a goat. What the fuck, man? I know that was the reaction he was looking for. I was sort of into the movie up until that point, and then it lost me, man. And I get that all of it is symbolic. There's a meaning behind a lot of these choices, but I don't know. Once again, Zombie gets a lot of actors we know in the movie. Meg Foster is one. Twin is in the film. Dee Wallace is in here. Bruce Davidson is actually really good as the researcher. Barbara Crampton has a cameo too. Lisa Marie has a cameo. Lords of Salem is about half of a movie I like. There are interesting moments in it, and I do appreciate Zombie trying something different. I wish he had tried something more different. I wish he had followed that quieter atmosphere instead of going full in there at the end and doing what he usually does. Anything else you want to say about this one?
No. I didn't even really want to talk about this one.
You just want to talk about Devil's Rejects.
I did.
You're shameless. You're so transparent.
I mean, the movie is just, you sit there and you keep waiting on something to jump out at you, and it never does.
Stuff definitely jumps out at you. What are you talking about?
Man, no it didn't. It was like all the bad parts of the second Halloween movie.
Now, you may think you see a grease-painted performer sitting before you, but trust me, I'm not here to brighten your dismal day. I am here to end your miserable life. You know, all in all, you've had a pretty good run. Deep down inside, you must have known it all had to end somewhere.
We are going to play 31.
And all you have to do is survive 12 hours of our own private hell.
In hell, everybody loves popcorn.
Lords of Salem was kind of a change of pace for Zombie, but with his most recent film, last year's 31, he took a hard turn back to his usual theatrics. Since you didn't see this one, I'll tell you a little bit of what it's about. Set in the 70s, follows a group of carnies who are traveling across the American Southwest on Halloween. Their van is stopped by a blockade in the middle of a road, and that's when they're attacked by these masked intruders who drag them out of the van. The survivors wake up in an underground tunnel, and they are informed by Malcolm McDowell, a powdered wig surrounded by a bunch of naked women. They are going to play a game of 31 where they will be chased by a series of serial killers through these underground tunnels, and if they can make it to morning, they'll be let go. This is a distillation of Rob Zombie's aesthetic. It's set in 1976 for no reason. The setting has no effect on the plot. It's just in there because Rob Zombie likes the 70s. The dialogue is F-bombs and very crude sexual references every minute. At least 2 separate characters are introduced in very graphic sex scenes for no reason. All that stuff is even before we get to the serial killers, most of whom are dressed up as clowns. The movie literally begins with a character looking to the camera and saying, fuck you.
I did see that part.
If you find Zombie's style irritating, you're gonna check out of this real early. Like I said, even before you get to the midget dressed up as Hitler and sing songs about how he wants to cut your head, even before you get to the naked clowns with chainsaws who talk about how they want to rape you and then kill you and then rape you again, even before you get to that stuff, you'll probably check out that you can't stomach Rob Zombie's bullshit. Of course, Cherry Moon stars in this film. She's the final girl. Meg Foster's back in this one. She actually has a pretty good part in this. She's the matriarch of the people who are trying to survive. I will say one thing about this film that I do like. The central villain, Robert Brake, plays a character named Doomhead, the primary villain. He's actually effective. He has the grossest dialogue in the movie, but his character is so intense, you really do believe that he is insane. In order to get him pumped up for killing, he punches himself in the face a bunch of times until he breaks his nose and starts bleeding. Speaking of bad endings, this one has a shit ending. Do not expect an ending that wraps up anything in a satisfying or interesting manner. The Halloween setting does not really come into play that much. Why set your movie on Halloween and not utilize more of that?
That right there is one sad, pathetic state of cinematic affairs. A sneering, rotating, gyrating pelvis, son of a bitch! He died 3 days before Groucho stole all the goddamn headlines. That goddamn fucking Elvis Presley.
What did you say about the king?
I said he died 3 days before Grouch!
Son, you ever say another derogatory word about Elvis Aaron Presley in my presence again, I will kick the living shit out of you! Fuck Groucho!
Zombie's next project, if it gets made, they've been talking about it for a while, but if it does get made, it's going to be a very different sort of movie. He is attached to make a Groucho Marx biofilm. It's going to be based off a book called Raised Eyebrows by an author named Steve Stoller, and it's about Groucho in the twilight of his life. It actually sounds like a pretty interesting project. I'm apprehensive about how Rob Zombie will approach that, though clearly the Marx Brothers is something he's passionate about. And he's had a couple of projects over the years that didn't get made. In between Devil's Rejects and Lords of Salem, he tossed around a couple of different things. First off, he was briefly attached to a remake of The Blob. What do you think Rob Zombie's The Blob would be like? It's The Blob in a trailer park, right?
Yeah. Sid Haig would be the old man that found the...
Absolutely, right?
If not him, then Bill Moseley.
It would have been Sid. It absolutely would have been. I just don't see...
Bill Moseley would have been the teenager riding on the bike.
Playing a teenager.
Playing a teenager.
Well, that would have been an accurate reflection of the original.
Yeah, 30-year-old Rob Zombie would do shit like that.
Don't really think we need another remake of The Blob. It would have
and Meg Foster would be the chick.
Zombie.
Oh, no, Sherry Moon would be the the chick.
Yeah, Sherry, who you kidding? I don't think Rob Zombie would bring anything to the Blob. He actually did kick around doing a prequel to Devil's Rejects House of 1,000 Corpses at one point that supposedly would have been about Dr. Satan. I don't really care about Dr. Satan. I don't know what his deal is. He's a real weird character. Maybe it would be interesting to get some insight into what the fuck his problem is, but I'm not really that interested in him. There's all this production artwork out there for this film he was going to make called Tyrannosaurus Rex. In the artwork, you just see very large, muscular, bearded Mexican guy fighting hippies on motorcycles. There are Tyrannosaurus Rexes in the sky. Here's this buff Mexican dude on the poster. Here's a black guy, and here's a blonde girl. Oh, well, that's Danny Trejo, Ken Foree, and Terry Moon, isn't it? And he didn't get to make that movie, but I was intrigued by it. The imagery was really interesting. I had no idea what the plot would have been. Would have preferred him to make any of those instead of Halloween 2.
Tutti fucking fruity! Shut up! Tutti fucking fruity! Tutti fucking fruity! Shut up! Tutti fucking fruity!
Listen, there is no fucking ice cream in your fucking future.
Anything else we want to say about Rob Zombie's
let's wrap this up.
career?
Let's wrap this up like Rob Zombie's career.
Oh, snap. No, I think he's going to keep making movies, you know. He's got an audience. He's got fans. Only really like about 2.5 of his films. Anytime a Rob Zombie movie comes out, it's something I'm going to see. I'm going to be interested in it.
He's one of those directors that you really never know what you're going to get going into it.
And say what you will, but he's got a point of view. Nobody makes movies quite like Rob, for better or worse.
I'll probably be right there with you watching them. We're part of the problem.
That's about it for this episode of the Bangers and Mash Show. Thanks so much for listening. You can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/thebangersandmash show. That means we should wrap it up and say that there is no fucking ice cream in your fucking future, and this is some official clown business, and you need to get the fuck out, okay?
And when we come back next time, you better have a good fucking reason why you don't like clowns, or I'm gonna kill your whole goddamn family.